of a doped athlete, a testing positive athlete has in the athlete? Because this has been all about you, hasn't it, this year?
Yes, sir.
See, but for us, it's not all about you. It's about your opponents and all the other athletes out there. We haven't talked about that at all tonight, and I'm not happy about that as well. But again, I don't get excited every week. You understand the impact this has on the actions that you've taken on your opponents?
Could I answer that without saying yes?
That's a question.
Could I? Yes, sir. If I was sitting here knowing in my heart that I have been doing steroids or I ever did steroids, I would feel some weird guilt. I absolutely understand what steroids could do to someone else or do to your own health. And that's why I've sworn up and down and done meetings that I didn't have to do and done polygraphs and all this type of stuff to tell you that I, of all people, absolutely understand what performance-enhancing drugs could do to someone. That's why I'm trying to swear with all sincerity that I would never do that.
Not just to you, but to your opponents and to your sport.
To your legacy and to, yeah, absolutely.
That's back to you, Mr. Jones, to your opponents and to your sport.
Yes, sir.
To MMA, the world of MMA.
And that's why I would never do it. Okay. I hate the fact that Lance Armstrong is associated with steroids. You know what that does to cycling? I hate that Barry Bonds is associated with steroids. You know what that does to boxing? I understand that I'm kind of right now become as one of the pioneers of my sport, could be one of the originators of boxing, the way people look at, you know, some of the old greats, the Willie Peps and the Jack Johnsons and all that stuff. I understand how important.
You do understand, you are smart.
Yes, I do understand, and that's why I would not disrespect myself in MMA at its birth state by being a cheater.
But you're making my point for me if you understand the situation that we're in here. Okay?
Sir.
You have to understand. I hope that you do, and I think that you do.
I do.
Which is good.
1,000%.
But it really does put us in that position. You realize that we're in the state of California, the regulatory agency, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that you... Okay. Mr. Walker, can we talk to the gentleman about the recommendation on to the next steps of this?
Absolutely. Andy, what is your recommendation?
We could close it on, and I would hope to cover. I would hope to cover. I would hope to cover Mr. Foster's position in a closing argument. If we could go to the closing, and then
that's fine.
And if I don't cover it, I'm sure Mr. Foster would follow up.
Very good.
We'd like to hear from Andy at some point. However you guys work this out, please. Wherever you do this, hear your close.
Commissioner, so let me preface my recommendation a little bit. Okay, I have a personal view and I have my professional view. Okay, my personal view is I believe him. And it's not just with what he said. I viewed it from common sense. We've heard from scientists and all this stuff. I'm looking at common sense. This makes no sense for him to take this drug on the test that he knows is coming. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Okay? Having said that, here we are. We're sitting here. Okay? There's nothing I can do about that. We're sitting here. My recommendation is $2,500 for 303, $2,500 for discredit to mixed martial arts, and $200,000, that's 40% of the purse, for business and professional codes 18843B. Now look, Howard Jacobs wrote something in his brief that I thought a lot about when he said, look, this 40% thing should be reserved for the most severe offenses, and I agree with that. Okay? I agree with that. Mr. Jones has been in front of USADA once. He's now with us here. But we're not talking about what he's done in the past. We're talking about 40%. And I had to ask myself when I was coming up with this, look, he made $500,000 from the bout. That's good. That's on the bout agreement. Okay? Mr. Jones also made a considerable amount of money from the pay-per-view sales that surrounded this fight. And I don't believe he would be able to do that without that state license. That's why I came up with that. So, you know, then as far as the license goes, I want to be very clear that I do not believe we should end Mr. Jones's career today. Okay? But I do believe he should sit out for a while. Okay? He's already sit out a good while. I guarantee you he's already missed a fight or two that he could have made money on. I guarantee it. But I think we should revoke his license. That's what my recommendation is. That's what I'm recommending to you guys. I don't think Mr. Jones gets to be a professional mixed martial artist right now. That's what I believe. Let him deal with USADA. Let USADA give their discipline, whatever it's going to be. When that's completed, I would be inclined to support Mr. Jones's application to return to this commission and get his license back. That's where we're at, and that's my recommendation, sir.
Does you want to add something to that closing argument?
No.
Mr. Jacobs?
I'll keep this short because I know we're way over time.
That's okay.
There is one point that I did want to address just briefly on the questions about the doping control form and the supplements that were tested, just to make sure that we're all clear on that, and I'll keep it short. If you look at our Exhibit E, which is the September 12 letter from me to USADA.
This is not a closing argument. I've already asked you, you felt like you made your case, and you guys said yes.
I mean, I think as part of the closing, I would be entitled to comment on the evidence that comes in. I would be done with this.
So you changed your mind? Okay.
No, I'll be done with this in less than a minute on this.
Hope it's something new. Doesn't sound like it. Okay.
Okay. You'll see in the letter that what we said is we tested more than just the supplements that were taken in the 7 days before the fight. And I'll let you go look at that letter of Exhibit E. I don't need to read it to you. I just wanted to clarify that little point. As far as the recommendation, I'll start with the license revocation. I think that our position on that is, as we stated in the brief, I mean, frankly, if the license is going to be revoked and John Jones can come back and reapply, that's fine. That's fine. So it makes that part easy, I guess. I mean, there are some issues as to when he can come back. My reading of the regulations is, as you see in the brief, is that he could, in theory, come back as early as August, but would he do that if he were suspended by USADA? It seems like it wouldn't make much sense to do that. But we're fine with that recommendation. On the fine, I mean, this is a tough point, and I do appreciate Mr. Foster thinking about it closely. I think that the reading of the regulations, at least my reading of it, is that the two $2,500 fines, that's fine. I mean, we haven't raised any issues with that. The 40% fine, if you look at the regs at section 18843B of the Business and Professions Code, it says that you can assess a fine of up to 40% of the total purse for a violation related to use of prohibited substances. And so the question is, what does that mean? Is the related to use of prohibited substances mean that the factors that you should be taking into account in assessing the fine are this positive test, or that you should also be taking into account all these other things we've been talking about, the DUI and the hit and run, the things that he's been punished for? And our position, I think, is clear, is that you shouldn't. And that you have discretion. It says up to 40%. And our position is that should be reserved for cases where the use of the prohibited substance part is, intentional at the highest end. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. That's it?
That is it.
Okay. Mr. Walker, we now go for a motion.
That's correct. To sustain the fines, suspension, and the revocation, based on the recommendation.
Commissioners, we have a motion.
I so moved.
We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a second.
I said, oh, you did.
You have a second. Sorry, you said we had a second. So here's an opportunity for the public to come up and make their thoughts known. You're encouraged, if you wish, to speak to us, to say anything you might have with regard to this matter. So if you want to come up, we'll state your name, give you a microphone, and have your say. Can we?
I'll just make mine. I think I'm done with it.
Hi, my name is Giovanni. I'm a fan of mixed martial arts, and no one paid me to be here or anything like that. My thoughts on everything that I've heard. I think that if someone is found to be guilty, they should be punished through monetary means. I feel that this is a punishment that could be pertaining to someone if they make a mistake by accident or something like that. And I feel that it would give the opportunity of a fighter to correct said mistakes. So I feel if you guys make any decision, it should be a monetary punishment and not necessarily a revocation of license. That's just from hearing everything that you guys have said, if I have any sort of a correct assessment on what's being said and what's going on.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anyone else like to comment? Okay.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to hear again exactly in layman's terms what the recommendation was. I heard that. And I would like to hear what the second is.
We have a motion.
What is it?
We have a motion.
Fill it out. I'd like to hear it.
Okay, so we have a motion. We have a motion and a second to take a vote on Mr. Foster's recommendation of revocation and the 40% fine plus the two $2,500 fines, correct?
Yes. That's it.
Okay. So it's time to vote.
With the idea that this other group find out what they give it back in life.
Absolutely, Mr. Jacobs said
I
that
think
through the USADA process.
plain English. I like plain English. This is fine for all you attorneys out there and all that, but I like plain English.
Yes, sir.
I'm a Harlem boy that only knows plain English.
Don't let him fool you. He's the smartest guy. Okay. Yes. Want to discuss more? Okay. We have a second with the vote, or you can discuss more. You're welcome to.
Yeah, it's on the floor. The question is first. Now it's time to discuss it. Because I think the other option is possible suspension, right? So we can revoke, we can suspend. Those are the two options, or we can do nothing. So, in my estimation, the reason for the revocation would be this. If we were to suspend, we could actually suspend for longer. The revocation would be for a year, according to our statutory scheme, correct? If we were to suspend, we could suspend for longer. But in my opinion, the problem is Mr. Jones has been suspended before. And under a suspension, he gets his license back automatically at the end of the suspension. With a revocation, there's actually a condition that he comes back to our commission and he show us evidence of rehabilitation, which he hasn't had to do before. So while the time might be shorter, we can say no for whatever period of time, that year, the next year, or whenever he applies. And I do think that the chairman is correct. perhaps there is a team around him, perhaps there are people around him, I don't know, who are enabling Mr. Jones in a way that he shouldn't be enabled, because even after the 2015 accident, Mr. Jones went on to have people sign for him declarations that he took online classes that he should be taking himself. And it isn't just the intentional or not intentional, because under our scheme, it doesn't matter. It is a strict liability. It's in your system. It's in your system. And the reason is because you have to take personal responsibility. That's the reason. So I think it will be important for Mr. Jones to come and show evidence that he is doing something to show personal responsibility. And also, just maybe strategically, although USADA's letter says 4 to 6 years, well, certainly I believe they're going to give him more than one. I think maybe somewhere between 18 months and 2 years. That's just what I believe. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, although I tell my children I'm never wrong, but whatever. So if that's the case, I don't believe he will come back to us while the suspension is going on. But even if he does, we have the ability to say no. So
Okay, we have a motion.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a motion.
Okay.
I think that we seem to be going back over the same thing. Anybody else? I'm calling for the vote. Mr. Foster?
Chairman Cormier.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lehman.
Aye.
Commissioner Frierson. Commissioner Senior Kivez.
Aye.
Commissioner Sauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Williams.
Aye.
6-0, sir. Recommendation passed.
Mr. Jones, I want to see you fighting as soon as possible. I hope you believe me, because I mean that.
I do agree.
I hope you're listening to some of the other things that I said to you and the other commissioners. Think about the people around you and some of the things that you're still doing. You're a unique, outstanding individual and athlete. We want to see you back in the cage as soon as possible. Come back to us.
Great.
Okay?
One more thing, Mr. Jones, you heard me talking about, I've been ill for a long time, so I'm home and I'm listening to people on TV. I really want you to look up who I was talking about, Stephen A. Smith.
I know who he is.
I don't know if you know about him, whatever happened, but he's an advocate, especially for African American athletes who need some training, who need some understanding who they are and who they impress. Because I have a grandson who doesn't even know what's going on or what happened in the past. And you need to be a role model. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Thank you.
We're going to adjourn for lunch in 1 hour. 45 minutes. We'll be back. Thank you all.
Thank you.